If you've ever taken niacin and experienced the flush, that sudden wave of warmth, the reddening of the skin, the tingling sensation that peaks within 20 minutes and then fades, your first instinct was probably to interpret it as a side effect to be minimized or eliminated. That's how it gets framed in most conversations. That's also, according to emerging cardiovascular science, potentially the wrong interpretation entirely. The flush occurs because niacin activates a receptor called GPR109A, which triggers the release of prostaglandins and causes vasodilation, the widening of blood vessels, and increased blood flow to the extremities. This isn't incidental. This is a physiological event with real cardiovascular implications. When your skin reddens and warms, that's increased peripheral circulation. Cold hands and feet may improve. Capillary refill time decreases. Blood pressure dynamics shift. The receptor you're activating is the same receptor implicated in anti-inflammatory effects and vascular protection. You're not experiencing a side effect. You may be experiencing the mechanism. NMN and NR were specifically engineered or selected, depending on your perspective, to avoid this receptor pathway. The flush was treated as a bug. Marketing for both molecules leans heavily on their flush-free profile as a selling point, because consumers told researchers and manufacturers they didn't like the flush. Consumer preference shaped the product, not therapeutic optimization. Here is the uncomfortable consequence. By designing out the flush, NR and NMN also designed out GPR109A activation and all of the vascular, anti-inflammatory, and prostaglandin-mediated effects that come with it. For cardiovascular health specifically, this matters enormously. The therapeutic benefits niacin delivers through lipid modification and vascular function aren't purely ND+ mediated. GPR109A activation contributes independently. That means if you're using NMN hoping for cardiovascular protection that overlaps with longevity benefits, you may be getting only one of the two mechanisms niacin provides, at far greater cost. The practical guidance here requires a warning. However, niacin at therapeutic doses should be titrated carefully. Starting at 50 mg after dinner and increasing by 50 mg weekly allows tolerance to develop, and the flush intensity does meaningfully decrease over weeks as your body adapts. Taking 325 mg of aspirin 30 minutes before niacin can reduce flush severity by 50 to 70% for those in early titration. Evening dosing has particular logic. Flush-induced vasodilation may actually improve sleep quality through peripheral temperature regulation. What you should not do is start at 1G immediately, assume the flush is dangerous, or treat GPR109A activation as something to suppress without consideration. The flush is information. Its intensity tracks receptor activation. That's real-time biofeedback. Some people, particularly those with certain cardiovascular conditions, should only undertake niacin therapy under medical supervision. The mechanism here is potent, and potency cuts both ways. But dismissing the flush as merely an inconvenience, while paying a premium for molecules that bypass it, means you may be optimizing for comfort at the expense of benefit.